At 8:15 a.m., the sun rose twice over Hiroshima. The first brought life. The second erased it. In less than one breath, a city of 300,000 vanished. This is the story of that breath. Before we begin, if you believe some stories should never fade into silence, if you want to experience history not as dates, but as human lives, then subscribe and join us. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story about war. It's the moment humanity met the fire of its own creation. August 6, 1945, 8:14 a.m., Hiroshima. The city wakes beneath a flawless blue sky. Cicadas hum in the trees, and the Ota River glimmers like liquid glass. Vendors arrange fresh vegetables on wooden carts, fishermen haul nets along the banks, and a newspaper boy pedals through the narrow lanes calling out headlines no one will remember tomorrow. Children in white uniforms hurry toward the schoolyard, their laughter echoing against walls still standing untouched by war. In the still air, nothing suggests that history is holding its breath. Far across the Pacific, on a tiny island called Tinian, 12 men prepare in silence. Inside a dim hangar, engines idle like restless beasts. A polished B-29 bomber stands waiting, its name painted across the nose in bold black letters. Enola Gay. The pilot, Colonel Paul Tibbets, walks its length, his boots crunching across gravel. He doesn't speak to his crew. There's nothing left to say. Each man moves with precision, mechanical, detached, as if emotion might interfere with flight. They know the mission's code, the coordinates, the altitude. They do not know the consequence. Back in Hiroshima, the morning unfolds gently. A mother hangs laundry in the courtyard. A baker slides fresh loaves from his oven. A young couple crosses the Ioi Bridge, pausing to watch the water ripple beneath them. The city breathes, unaware that in less than an hour, its name will become synonymous with the unimaginable. A radio hums softly in a tea house. Weather, clear skies across Honshu. Visibility excellent. Customers nod, grateful for calm. After months of alarms that led to nothing, the people of Hiroshima have stopped running for cover. They believe their city, home to soldiers, yes, but also schools, shrines, and hospitals, is safe. Above the Pacific, the Enola Gay takes to the air. The engines thunder, fading into steady rhythm as the aircraft claw imbees through cloud. Inside the bomb bay, a steel cylinder rests on its cradle, cold and silent. Painted on its side, a name: Little Boy. The crew settle into routine. Charts checked, bearings confirmed, silence filling the gaps between clipped instructions. At 10,000 feet, sunlight floods the cockpit. Below them, the endless ocean gleams like polished steel. No one speaks of what waits at the end of their flight path. Hiroshima's tram lines clatter with morning passengers. School bells ring. A teacher writes "the motion of light" across a chalkboard. A soldier on leave buys cigarettes from a corner stall. Life moves in its perfect rhythm, fragile but whole. At 6 o'clock a.m., Japanese radar operators detect distant aircraft. Too high for fighters, one says. Likely reconnaissance. No alarm sounds. The streets remain calm. By 8:10, the Enola Gay crosses the coastline. The city comes into view, serene beneath the summer haze. Tibbets steadies the controls, the plane gliding smooth and deliberate. Below, a fisherman looks skyward, shading his eyes. A faint silver glint drifts across the sun. He squints, then smiles. "Just another scout plane," he mutters. He goes back to his work. And so begins the silence before the fire. The Pacific stretches endlessly beneath the Enola Gay, a mirror of steel and sunlight. The bomber cuts through the air like a blade, its engines droning with mechanical certainty. Inside, the cabin vibrates with restrained energy. Every man aboard knows his role. None fully understands the weight of what's suspended beneath them. Colonel Paul Tibbets sits motionless in the pilot's seat, eyes fixed on the horizon. Sweat gathers along his brow, but his hands remain steady. We're carrying something the world has never seen, he thinks. A weapon built in secrecy, designed to end everything, including questions. Major Thomas Farabee checks the bomb site, calculating angles, wind, and altitude with meticulous care. He works like a man performing surgery, precise, cold, detached. Captain Robert Lewis scribbles in his logbook, his handwriting unnaturally neat. Weather clear, visibility good. Target, Hiroshima. In the back, Sergeant Wyatt leans against the fuselage, staring at the metal casing of little boy. He whispers a quiet prayer no one hears, not for victory, not for safety, but for understanding. They were told the device would shorten the war, save lives, force surrender. None were told what it would look like when it landed. The aircraft climbs higher. The ocean below disappears into haze. The men fall silent, trapped between duty and disbelief. Thousands of miles away, memories of creation linger. In the desert of New Mexico, a group of scientists had watched a fireball rise into the night 3 weeks earlier. The Trinity test, the first detonation of an atomic bomb. When the light erupted, it turned midnight into day. Men shielded their eyes behind welding glass and still saw ghosts of color long after the flash faded. Among them stood Robert Oppenheimer, his lips barely moving as he whispered words from the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. That line would follow the weapon wherever it went, from Los Alamos to this plane slicing through the morning sky. Hiroshima stirs below, alive and unaware. The air smells of river mist and rice steam. A teacher arranges books on a wooden desk. Nurses in white uniforms prepare beds at the Red Cross hospital. Streetcars rattle past rows of shops where merchants bow to familiar faces. Life moves in rhythm, unbroken, innocent, almost sacred. Children gather in the schoolyard, the sound of their chatter rising like birdsong. One girl ties her friend's ribbon and points toward the horizon. "Look how clear the sky is," she says. They smile, never knowing the sky itself is watching back. At the market, fishmongers lay out morning catch. The aroma of charcoal drifts from small kitchens. Men in work clothes discuss ration cards and the possibility of surrender rumors. No one believes them. The Emperor's voice has not spoken. Across the city, soldiers on leave share cigarettes, laughing about home. A priest sweeps temple steps. A clockmaker repairs a pocket watch, its ticking crisp against the distant clang of a streetcar. The seconds move faithfully, unaware they are running out. In the Enola Gay, Tibbets adjusts his flight path. The sun sits high, bright, merciless. The crew have removed their sidearms. No one expects resistance. They are beyond the reach of enemy fire, above the clouds, cocooned in control. Captain Lewis looks out the window. Far below, the faint outline of islands drift by like shadows in water. He exhales slowly, watching his breath fog the glass. "Hard to believe there's a war down there," he mutters. No one replies. Back in Hiroshima, the city's morning hum continues. The post office opens. Students recite lessons in unison. A mother pins wet laundry to a line, sunlight reflecting off the water droplets. A soldier stands on a bridge watching the flow of the river as if it might carry him somewhere far from the war. Then, a flicker on the edge of the sky. At 7:09 a.m. radar operators at Mihoro detect 3 small aircraft approaching from the south. The report is brief, almost dismissive. Altitude, 30,000 feet. Speed, normal. Reconnaissance likely. The message reaches Hiroshima, but no alarm is issued. Air raid sirens remain silent. In the bomber's narrow corridor, Flight Engineer Wyatt checks the readings. "All systems nominal," he says. His voice trembles slightly, the only sound that doesn't belong to the machine. Farabee peers through the bomb sight again, tracing the thin lines of the target map. The Iowa Bridge forms a perfect cross below, the aiming point. He notes the coordinates and nods to Tibbets. "On course," he says. Tibbets gives a curt nod, his jaw tightening. Lewis folds his arms and looks at the bomb bay. "If this thing works," he mutters under his breath, "people will talk about it forever." Wyatt answers quietly. If it doesn't, no one will ever know. Their words vanish beneath the drone of engines. On the ground, a physician steps out of his clinic, glancing up at the sun. He shades his eyes, noticing a silver gleam high above the clouds. It moves too slow for a fighter, too steady for a balloon. He dismisses it. An American scout plane, perhaps. There have been dozens before. He turns back toward his patients. At that same moment, Tibbets checks his watch. 8:10 a.m. He radios the other two planes in formation. Straight and level. Target in sight. Inside the cockpit, the air grows heavy, though nothing has changed. The hum feels louder, the light sharper. The men's faces are calm, but their silence carries weight. The reality of what they carry presses on their chests like gravity. Down below, Hiroshima glows in summer light. The city looks peaceful from above, precise streets, shining rooftops, the river winding through its heart like a silver thread. Tibbets studies it through the glass and murmurs, "Beautiful city." No one answers. He steadies his hands on the yoke and lowers the flaps. The bomber begins its final approach. Altitude, 31,000 feet. Speed, steady. Target, IOI Bridge. Every second tightens the invisible cord between sky and earth. Hiroshima's clock towers mark 8:13 a.m. The bells chime softly over the rooftops. In the schoolyard, children repeat their lessons. At the riverbank, the fisherman pulls in his net. A girl looks up, pointing at a glint in the sky. "Look, Mother," she says, "it's shining." The woman squints, smiles faintly, and returns to folding laundry. Above them, in the glare of morning sun, the Enola Gay glides into position. The bomb bay doors unlock with a slow, metallic hiss. Little boy waits. The world, both below and above, holds its breath, unaware that history has already begun to fall. They don't know. No one knows. The weapon hums softly in its cradle, and the sky begins to tremble. 8:10 a.m. The Enola Gay stabilizes at 31,000 feet. The morning light floods the cockpit, blindingly white, bouncing off the glass. Beneath the crew's calm faces lies an unspoken tension, a strange awareness that every movement now matters. Colonel Paul Tibbets adjusts the trim, eyes locked on the crosshairs ahead. Major Farabee lowers his head to the bomb site, whispering calculations to himself. Pressure, altitude, crosswind, every number, precise. There's no conversation, no sound beyond the vibration of engines and the dull ticking of instruments. Below them lies Hiroshima, unsuspecting and serene. From this height, it looks like a map carved in sunlight, bridges arching over silver water, narrow streets winding between rows of wooden houses, temple roofs glinting like scales. Farabee murmurs, "Target in sight." Tibbets gives a single nod. "Do it clean." January 11 a.m. On the ground, the city hums in perfect rhythm. The first classes have begun. In a wooden schoolhouse near the river, children sit cross-legged on tatami mats, listening to their teacher describe the properties of light. She draws a simple circle on the blackboard and smiles at their curiosity. "Light travels faster than anything," she says. "It moves from the sun to us in 8 minutes. A boy raises his hand. "So the sunlight we see right now is already old?" She laughs softly. "Yes, just a little." Her chalk pauses mid-air. She never imagines how quickly light itself will become her enemy. Across the city, a soldier sits by a window in a small garrison office writing to his wife. His handwriting is careful, deliberate. He mentions the heat, the silence, the rumor that the war might end soon. He hopes to see their son by winter. He ends the letter with a single sentence. "Keep the radio on. I'll be home soon." He seals the envelope and glances toward the clock on the wall. 8:12 a.m. and... The Red Cross Hospital, nurses replace bandages, refill trays, and open windows to the warm breeze. Patients talk softly, grateful for another quiet day. The air smells faintly of disinfectant and jasmine from the courtyard below. In that courtyard, A girl kneels beside a stone path, scattering rice for doves. The birds descend in a flutter of gray and white. One lands on her hand. She laughs, the sound pure and clear, vanishing into the morning air. 8:13 a.m. In the radar station outside Hiroshima, two operators study their screens. Faint dots appear, moving slowly across the scope. 3 aircraft, one reports, high altitude, non-hostile. The other nods, bored. Probably recon again. The report is logged, sent, and forgotten. No sirens, no warnings, no fear. The city continues breathing in peace, unaware that its lungs are already filled with the last air it will ever know. In the Enola Gay, the bomb bay doors slide open. A mechanical hiss fills the cabin, followed by an unnatural quiet. Farabi's voice is steady. Doors open, target clear. Tibbets watches the river drift below like a ribbon of mercury. The Aoi Bridge glows faintly in the morning sun. A perfect X, the bullseye. He grips the yoke. Release on my mark. The world below has less than 1 minute left. 14 a.m. The bomb unlocks and drops away, a single shape tumbling from the belly of the plane into open air. Inside the cockpit, no one moves. They feel the shift in weight, but say nothing. 43 seconds until detonation. The Enola Gay banks hard to the right, pulling away from the target zone. The bomb falls silently, slicing through the air. At first, it seems slow, graceful even. Then gravity takes hold. The shape accelerates, cutting through clouds that shimmer briefly from friction. Below, Hiroshima carries on. In the schoolyard, the teacher claps her hands. Class dismissed for morning break. The children rise, cheerful and restless. They pour into the courtyard, chasing one another under the wide, blameless sky. A few streets away, the soldier folds his letter neatly and places it on the desk. He adjusts his uniform, unaware that no one will ever read his words. At the riverbank, the fisherman casts his net once more. The surface ripples, calm and blue. He hears nothing. Overhead, a glint passes across the sun. 14 and 12 anti-seconds. The bomb spins end over end, stabilizing as its parachute deploys. A mechanical timer ticks within the steel shell. A sound too small for anyone to hear, yet it counts down the fate of tens of thousands. 23 seconds. The girl feeding doves looks up. The birds scatter all at once, startled by some unseen ripple. Feathers drift through the air like falling snow. 18 seconds. In the hospital ward, a nurse stops mid-step, sensing something strange. The light outside seems sharper, almost white. 14 seconds. In the cockpit, Lewis shades his eyes. The city below looks still, peaceful, impossibly fragile. 10 seconds. Tibbets whispers to himself. Not a prayer, not a command, just breath. God help us. 7 seconds. On the bridge, a mother holds her child's hand. She squints at the faint parachute descending slowly from the sky. 5 seconds. The fisherman drops his net, lifting a hand to block the glare. 3. A single heartbeat. 2. The bomb stops falling, suspended in time, in silence. 1. And then, the world stops breathing. For an instant, there is only light. Not light as the eye knows it, but something absolute. A white sphere expanding faster than thought, swallowing color, shadow, and air itself. The city vanishes inside the brilliance. Every sound ceases, every motion freezes, every memory is erased. The light consumes everything, and for one infinite moment, the earth forgets how to turn. 8:15 a.m. A light ignites above Hiroshima, not born from the sun, but something mankind created in secret. It blooms in silence, then everything ends. For a fraction of a second, the bomb hangs motionless in the air, a small sphere, pulsing with impossible energy. Then, With a burst beyond comprehension, it explodes. The first atomic flash cuts through the morning sky, brighter than 1,000 suns, whiter than anything the human eye has ever seen. Shadows disintegrate, air becomes light, stone glows. Time itself pauses, unable to keep up. Within a single instant, the heart of Hiroshima ceases to exist. At ground zero, people vanish before they can understand what has happened. A teacher at her desk becomes a silhouette burned into the wall behind her. A man crossing a bridge dissolves into dust, leaving nothing but a faint, human-shaped stain on the pavement. Children in a schoolyard turn to light and are gone before their laughter fades. Those just outside the center are thrown backward, their eyes seared, their skin turned to flame. They open their mouths to scream, but their voices never escape. The sound is swallowed by the brilliance. Cloth ignites. Wood liquefies. Iron bends. Glass, in every window across the city, shatters outward like shrapnel made of stars. A second later, the heat arrives. It travels faster than thought, a wave of fire stretching for miles in every direction. Roof tiles curl and melt. Rivers boil where the blast touches them. People far from the center burst into flame, their clothes fusing to skin. The air becomes a weapon. Oxygen is sucked from lungs before the breath can finish. Streetcars ignite where they stand. The shadows of railings, bicycles, and human bodies are etched permanently into the pavement. The light is followed by heat, and the heat is followed by wind. The shockwave crashes outward like the swing of a colossal hammer. Buildings crumble in an instant. Walls fold inward. Entire neighborhoods collapse into clouds of dust and fire. Those who survive the first blast are hurled across streets, torn through the air like paper. A mother clutching her child is thrown into the river, the water already boiling. A soldier inside a barracks is crushed beneath falling beams before he can rise from his bunk. The Enola Gay, miles above the chaos, jolts as the pressure wave reaches it. The plane trembles, but the crew says nothing. The city beneath them has vanished inside a rising tower of fire. Below, the wind continues. It roars through the ruins with the force of a hurricane. Flames dance across rooftops that no longer exist. The shock wave tears through the outskirts, flattening trees, snapping telegraph poles, lifting debris high into the air. Birds combust mid-flight. Dogs howl, then fall silent. The city becomes a storm of smoke and color, reds, oranges, silvers, and blacks, all twisting together into a single, monstrous cloud. From the center, a column of dust and flame climbs into the sky, turning within itself, reaching higher, higher, until it becomes the first mushroom cloud in human history. It towers over what used to be Hiroshima, expanding with slow, monstrous grace. Below, everything burns. Silence follows. Not the silence of calm, but the silence after annihilation. It is a soundless roar, a void so complete it feels alive. The city has no voice now. Its people are gone, its structures erased. There is only colorless light fading into smoke, and then nothing. 1,000 fragments of life drift upward in the heat. Shards of glass, leaves, fabric, dust, and ash swirl together, suspended in the new air. The streets are no longer streets. The river no longer flows. For a moment, the wind stops. Everything hangs motionless, broken, burning, unreal. Then, faintly, the sound returns. It begins as a low hum. The air trembles, reshaping itself after the violence. The wind gathers strength again, whispering across ruins, carrying with it the faint crackle of flame and the hollow echo of distant cries. The first survivors begin to stir. Their ears ring, their skin blistered and torn, their eyes unable to comprehend what they see. They stumble through blinding haze, calling for names that will never answer. The world around them glows red and gray, a city of ghosts moving through smoke. No birds remain, no trees stand. The horizon itself has changed color. Blue turned to ash. The Enola Gay banks slowly away, its crew looking back in silence. Behind them rises the cloud, vast, magnificent, and terrible. It grows still higher, twisting into the stratosphere like a living thing. No one speaks. No one moves. They watch, stunned, as the city they had marked on a map disappears into a column of fire. On the ground, what remains of Hiroshima smolders quietly. Every building within 2 kilometers is gone. Every living thing caught within the radius is burned, crushed, or erased. Those farther away crawl through rubble, blinded and silent, searching for water, for help, for proof that the world still exists. A man touches the side of a wall. It sticks. Still hot enough to sear his palm. He stumbles forward, seeing only blinding white where streets once ran. A girl stands near what was once her school. The building is gone. The air smells of metal and smoke. She reaches for the dove she had been feeding, but there is nothing left to find. Above, the mushroom cloud begins to drift, its edges curling like smoke from a funeral pyre. The color shifts from orange to gray to black, the fire turning to dust as it rises into the heavens. From orbit, if anyone could see it, Earth would look wounded, a single scar carved into its skin. The moment lasts forever. The light lingers in the air, echoing inside every survivor's eyes. And then, finally, the world exhales. The light came first, then the heat, then the wind, and then nothing. The light fades, but the world it leaves behind is unrecognizable. Where Hiroshima once stood, there is only movement. Air still trembling, fire crawling through streets that no longer have names. The city is gone, replaced by a field of glowing embers and shapeless ruin. Concrete lies twisted like wet cloth. Steel beams protrude from the ground, warped and blackened. Walls stand only as memories, shadows of people burned into them, outlines frozen mid-step. Everything that once lived or built or believed now lies under a veil of dust. The silence breaks. It begins with a single voice, faint and fragile. Then another, and another. The survivors begin to move. They emerge from the smoke like phantoms, their skin blistered, their clothes in tatters. Some have no clothes left at all. The blast stripped fabric away, leaving only the marks of seams burned into flesh. Their hair is singed, their eyes wide and vacant. None of them run. They walk, one slow step after another, through streets that bleed heat. The air tastes of iron and ash. Every breath hurts. A man stumbles toward the river, his arms stretched before him. His hands are raw, melted, fingers fused together. He does not scream. He only whispers for water. Around him, others follow the same direction, toward the river, toward anything that might cool the fire still crawling across their skin. Bodies float along the banks. Children drift beside debris, chairs, roof tiles, half-burned paper. A woman kneels beside the water, trying to drink, but her lips are too damaged to hold it. The river itself is boiling in places, steam rising from its surface. The rain begins soon after. It falls without warning, thick and black, carrying the ashes of the dead. Soot, dirt, and pulverized debris swirl in the air, mixing with moisture pulled from the firestorm. The drops are heavy, oily, and warm. Survivors tilt their faces upward, desperate for relief. But the rain is poison. It stains their skin, seeps into wounds, darkens everything it touches. The smell is unbearable. A mixture of burning flesh, wet dust, and smoke from 1,000 collapsing fires. Flames move in all directions at once, feeding on anything left that can burn. Wooden beams burst apart, paper walls ignite, trees collapse under their own heat. In what remains of the hospital, a doctor moves through chaos. His white coat is gray with ash. His instruments are gone, melted or buried beneath rubble. He works with his hands, bandaging, cleaning, comforting where he can. There are too many patients, too few living to help. Some lie still, others reach out weakly. He tears fabric from his own uniform to make dressings, knowing they will not be enough. He looks outside and sees the city burning like a single wound. The sky itself glows red. He does not realize that radiation is seeping into every cell of his body. He only knows that he cannot stop working. Across the river, a soldier drags a comrade from the wreckage. His own arm is broken, his face half burned, yet he pulls the body along with stubborn rhythm. When he finally collapses, he does not let go. Around him, hundreds do the same, trying to save, trying to move, trying to understand. The world has ended, and still, the living search for order within its ruins. High above, the Enola Gay turns toward the south. From the air, the devastation is unreal, an entire city replaced by a swirling vortex of smoke and flame. The crew stares through the small windows in silence. The mushroom cloud stretches miles high, its core still glowing white. Co-pilot Robert Lewis breaks the quiet first. "My God," he murmurs, "what have we done?" No one answers. In the rear compartment, flight engineer Wyatt adjusts his readings mechanically, his hands moving by instinct. He avoids looking out the window. He focuses on switches, gauges, dials, anything but the sight of what used to be Hiroshima. Major Farabee writes a single line in his notebook. "Bomb away, 081 target destroyed." He underlines it once, then closes the log. Tibbets glances at the horizon, the expression on his face unreadable. He calls into the radio, his voice calm. "Mission accomplished. Returning to base." The reply crackles through static. "Copy that. Mission successful." The word successful hangs in the cabin like a curse. No one speaks again. Below, the wind shifts. The firestorm strengthens. Oxygen rushes back toward the center of the blast, feeding the inferno. The flames grow higher, sucking in debris, wood, and people alike. The city becomes a furnace, air spiraling into the core until even the rivers ignite. Those who try to flee feel the wind pulling them backward. Those trapped inside feel it pulling the air from their lungs. The noise returns, an endless roar, deeper than thunder, filling the ruins with fury. Hours pass before the fire begins to fade. What remains is silence again, an empty, trembling silence, filled only by crackling embers and the soft, persistent patter of black rain. In the aftermath, the survivors wander like shadows through what was once their world. They call for loved ones who no longer exist. They dig through ashes with bare hands, searching for something, anything, that still resembles the life they knew. A mother finds a small shoe near a collapsed wall. She picks it up, turning it over in her trembling fingers, then presses it to her chest. She does not cry. There are no tears left to give. At 10 o'clock a.m., the Enola Gay reaches open sea. The crew finally exhales. The plane hums evenly, carrying them away from the light they unleashed. Behind them, the mushroom cloud still climbs into the sky, its shadow stretching across the water. Tibbets looks back one last time. The glow on the horizon flickers faintly, like a dying sun. He whispers to himself, so quietly, no one hears. The city was there a moment ago. Then he turns forward, guiding the bomber through the morning haze. The sky ahead is blue. The world below is forever changed. The fires die slowly. By dawn, Hiroshima is gone, replaced by a colorless wasteland that breathes smoke instead of air. The sky is gray, the earth black, and the wind carries no sound except the faint crackle of dying embers. Where homes once stood, there are only outlines burned into stone. The city is silent, but the silence is not peace. It is absence. In laboratories across the Pacific, telegrams arrive. Target destroyed, mission successful. The words are simple, the meaning unfathomable. Scientists who once spoke of progress now sit in disbelief. Oppenheimer stares through a window in New Mexico, whispering to no one, "Now we are all sons of the same fire." In Tokyo, the government receives fragmented messages. Hiroshima has vanished from maps. No radio answers, no survivors report in. The emperor stands before a wall-sized chart of Japan and asks quietly, "How can a city disappear?" No one replies. Among the ruins, the living wander through smoke. Their skin is raw, their eyes hollow. They move without direction, searching for water, for family, for meaning. A woman kneels beside a crater that was once her home. She holds a scorched photograph and murmurs, "The sun came down." Her voice fades into the wind. High above the Pacific, the Enola Gay returns to base. The crew says little. From the window, Tibbets sees only the ghost of the city, a swirling gray vortex below the clouds. When they land, the radio confirms the code words again, "Mission complete." He removes his headset, stares at the sea, and whispers, "The city was there a moment ago." In Washington, the world learns a new term, atomic bomb. Headlines call it victory. Few understand what victory now means. Across continents, silence spreads, the silence of realization. Humanity has created a weapon powerful enough to erase itself. Weeks later, amid the rubble, flowers begin to grow, pink oleanders sprouting through ash. They are small, fragile, alive. Hiroshima breathes again, not in triumph, but in memory. If this story reached you, remember it. Share what you felt in the comments below. And if you believe history like this should never be forgotten, subscribe and stand with us as we keep these voices alive. This is not the end of the story, only the echo it left behind.